makes one of the most potent pony cars you've ever seen. The 2026 Mustang RTR Spec 5 is an 870 horsepower version of the Mustang that's been engineered to do pretty much anything you want it to do. Joining me now to talk about this very outrageous creation, the RTR Vehicles impresario himself, Vaughn Gittin Jr. Good to see you, my friend. It has been a while.
It has, Gary. Nice to see you, my man.
So this car, first, I want to get to something first. How long has RTR been building these complete builds, the spec builds? I can't remember how many years it's been. It's been a while now.
Yeah, 2009 we debuted the brand at SEMA.
Wow, that's a long time. How's that been for you? I mean, you must be loving the business.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been a lot to learn. But we progressed. We started out with dealer installed vehicles, and now we have bailment pool from Ford where we get vehicles directly from the plant, and then we take them from there and build them to our spec. It's been incredible. I always say I'm so grateful. Like at the end of the day, I'm just an enthusiast, and our ethos here at RTR is cool wins, and I feel like I get to create the Hot Wheels and the RC cars that I used to play with as a kid. And it's really cool to be able to create such a vehicle that does all the things that I like, that enables other people to experience being behind the wheel like I do. It's been such an important part of my life. So to be able to create and share that is really something special.
Now I want to get through some of the details of this, but I want to start out with that big ticket number, 870 horsepower, supercharged 5-liter V8. Now I got to ask you, first of all, how do you end up at 870? Why not 850? Why not 880? That's kind of a weird number.
Well, it's actually advertised at 875. And we figure, we're just going to go ahead and put it at 870 and allow people to have a little extra, rather than hype it up. We'll just be a little bit, conservative. Nonetheless, it's a big number. We're seeing about 750 at the tire. Obviously, we don't advertise that because it's related to whatever dyno you're on. But this is basically as certified by Whipple, who develops the supercharger and does all the calibration and all of the regulation stuff with it. And so they advertise 875, and and I believe it actually can be over that in times, depending on the fuel and things like that. But yeah, that's the number, and we don't ever want to have a situation where it's like, oh, you said here's 875 and it was 873. So we're just like, let's just be conservative, and if anyone wants to whine about 870, well, you're sorry.
Now, one company I'm wondering if they're whining about this. You're a Ford racing driver. You work with Ford. The Mustang GTD's 5.2-liter supercharged V8 has 815 horsepower. They didn't call you up and be like, 870, dude, what are you doing? You making us look bad?
No, because we're responsible for the warranty on it. So, no, not at all. This is not a GTD. I am the proud owner of a GTD. And it's just they're two different vehicles, hence the price point. But no, in fact, I got a note from Jim Farley today, just how good the car looks, and he thinks it's really awesome what we're doing, and I think they like it. I think we have such a great relationship with them. I think you probably saw the production vehicle that we have coming out of the plant, which will be unveiled later on this year. And we work very closely with them, and they love what we're doing, and I'm very happy for that because it gives us some great insight and great opportunity.
Now, obviously the power is the big headliner, but this car is not about power. It's about handling. You've got what you call the tactical suspension system on this. 30-way adjustable coilover shocks. Can you explain that to someone like me who really doesn't understand what that could even mean?
Yeah, so I think, the way I kind of like to explain this is like, tactical means like built for a purpose. And so our tactical performance system is developed together right? So the dampers and the springs and the sway bars are a system. Everything is developed together, and the tacticalness to it is I wanted to have a suspension system, one chassis, one car that has the ability to ride nice on the road, generate a understeer balance, a neutral balance, or an oversteer balance at the limit. And the ability for our owners to adjust or adapt the vehicle as they progress as a driver or want to make, modifications, different tires, things like that. So the chassis, the suspension, is built with all of that inside of the car. And not just that, but this car is very fast and it would be amazing on the track. But we didn't just go and make this car built to do a lap time. We built it to be a driver's car. So I'm sure you've driven cars that will do an amazing lap time, but they're knife edge. Like if you don't drive them like they need to be driven, they're sketchy, they're scary, like they're built to be at the limit. And this car is built to be very progressive, meaning that you can drive it as you want. And when it gets close to the limit, it doesn't just go away. Like you don't have to be a perfect driver to drive it well. And when you do make that mistake, it's not just a darty, oh, you messed up, it's over. It lets you know, like, it's a very progressive, like over the limit feeling, if you will. And so all of that is, a conscious in the development process. Our suspension is something I'm extremely proud of. Even our lower models, the Spec 2 and Spec 3 that have the not coilover, just a standard kind of damper strut style, they feel really good and kind of have that mindset in them. These are ride height adjustable and then have a lot more damping range so that, if you want to put some more track focused tires on it, then you would stiffen the car up a bit because obviously it's going to grab and roll a little bit more. So customers have the ability to adapt to, what they're doing.
What do you have to do to adjust the ride height and the sway bars? Do you have to get under the car for that, or is that
Yeah,
easy?
yeah. Unfortunately, that's what comparing to the GTD, you can just kind of push a button for that. You got to use spanner wrenches on it, and the dampers are pretty easy. There's just turn knobs on the dampers, and then the ride height, again is spanner wrenches, and the sway bars are just standard bolt. You just move the link. It's a 3-way adjustable bar. Actually 6 if you really wanted to split it. But, the ride height, I don't really know why anyone would want to change it, especially this car, because we've lowered the center of gravity and basically built the body around it for to have no interference. And so the wide body is a very functional system. We didn't have to compromise anything with that. The steering angle stays the same as the factory car, and you get full articulation with no rubbing or anything like that. And so I wouldn't adjust the ride height. I wouldn't advise that.
Well, yeah, I don't know. The roads down there in North Carolina might be pretty good, but up in New York, maybe Michigan, I might want an extra half-inch or so on the street.
Fair. You can do that. You can do that.
You mentioned the wide body, big changes to the fenders, and you've included what you're describing as tire cooling vents. Don't see that terminology a lot with cars. I mean, is that really there for the tires? Is that for track? Is that for drifting? What's the purpose for those?
Yeah, so everything on the body is designed for a function, and like if you look at the front wheel arch, the front wheel at the back, how it arches in, right? The goal is getting all the air out of under the fenders the best that we can. So the wake towers pull the air, and we get a bit of that air out of the fender well through that. And then moving on to the rear, very similar mindset. We are pushing air into the fender and cooling the tire, right? It's a rear wheel drive car. Drifting is absolutely, that's a benefit. It is not a, it's not a drift car, but it certainly can drift. And it also, at some level does get some positive airflow through there to get things flowing. But the main function of that vent is for tire cooling. When you're on the track, being super aggressive, rear tires and rear wheel drive cars get super hot. So this will, get a bit of cooling on that. And especially, if you stay on the throttle a little more than like myself, you can get back down to operating temperature.
$159,999 for this, and that's all in, includes the donor car. That's more than half what the GTD goes for. You mentioned you own one of those. Driving these on the tracks and put this in a pretty neutral setup. Tell me what they're like compared to each other.
Yeah. So also I mentioned too, with that price point, every car comes with a custom color. So you can choose your color out of our palette, and we paint the complete vehicle, and then you can upgrade your paint. Man, it's really hard to compare the two cars on the track. I mean, the GTD is an absolute race car. I mean, you're driving down the road and you turn the steering wheel a half inch, and it just like it'll go to the other lane. Like it is. I have zero anything I could tell Ford to do to improve the GTD straight up. That's got obviously full custom front AA arm suspension, the rear subframe, transaxle. I mean, it's just a completely different beast. The aerodynamics of the GTD are on another level for solely focused on downforce. And so at super high speeds, that downforce is going to allow you, all things considered in the GTD, is going to allow you to take a corner much faster than you would be able to in the Spec 5. But driving the Spec 5 on the road course, obviously 870 horsepower is pretty insane. Not that 815 isn't, but you feel it. The Spec 5 is, it's still more of a production Mustang, so I think it's a little bit more raw in that element, like on the road course. Like it still has, it's a lot more settled than say a production Mustang with 870 horsepower, no suspension, but it's still raw, where the freaking GTD is meant to be on a racetrack. So I think the way that I would compare it is that the Spec 5 is not a refined race car. So, you still got to drive it. It's probably harder to drive around the racetrack than the GTD at the limit. You know what I mean? The GTD is meant to be at the limit. It loves to live at the limit. Whereas the Spec 5 loves to live at it, but you need to have a little bit more skill under your belt to keep it there, if you will. And I think, for our customer base, for the most part, they're going to be, that 80, 90% driver that's just out having fun, 20-minute track, 15, 20-minute sessions, or just having fun on the back roads, where the GTD, you can go do a freaking Nürburgring lap and keep doing them, So two completely different animals, but both of them put a massive smile on your face. And obviously, the Spec 5, you can go drift as well, where the GTD, you're not going to be doing, much drifting. The steering angle's locked down on it. Again, it's a race car. But, it's really interesting. People are comparing the cars, because in my mind, when we built it, it wasn't even a comparison. It's like I bow down to the GTD. That's why I bought one. And there's a lot to learn from that car, because it's incredible what they did with that. But the Spec 5 for us, as what we are, as a 15-year-old company that is, winning championships in motorsports, on-road and off-road, with an amazing, passionate staff, is a representation of like our greatest creation that we're able to do at this moment, and so we will continue to evolve. And if you look at our first Spec 5 in 2015, we've come a long way, and it's something that this one is something we're extremely, extremely proud of.
And you're going to build up to 50 of them next year. There's a surprising number of tuned Mustangs and other muscle cars these days that are 150, 200 grand. Shelby, Hennessy's making them as well. A lot of them, though, you see just moving along auction blocks with 100 miles on the odometer. I'm guessing the RTR customers are maybe a little different than that.
I mean, that's my hope. We say available to all, not for everyone. And, so my hope and kind of the things that I try to inspire is driving. I had a Ford GT. I put 3,000 miles on it. I have a GTD. I've already got like 500-600 on it. You know, these cars are built to be driven, and you know, buying a car to just sit and you know, hopefully make money on at some point is not really my idea of being an enthusiast. And so, you know, the content and all the things that we do and the events we do with our customers all have driving around them. But I also respect everyone for whatever kind of fun that they have. But, you know, just to put the icing on the cake with it, you know, all of our vehicles are developed with purpose. And so the Spec 5 is like a cohesive thing, right? Like the vision is like you wake up in the morning, you look at your car, really any of our cars, but the Spec 5 especially is like, holy, that's my car, right? So from the looks, it's like immediately like the experience starts. Then you get in the car and you start it, and we've meticulously developed this exhaust with Borla, and it is such an amazing exhaust system. I think it's probably the best sounding Coyote that you can buy turnkey with the things we've done. I've actually got rid of elements I didn't like in the exhaust notes of the Coyote because of the variable valve timing and the timing stuff. And you know, so you start the car and it's just like, oh yes, like let's go. And then you get on the throttle doing whatever it is you want to do, and it just like it is just a confidence inspiring fun experience. And so that to me is what I think differentiates us. Like the car inspires you on its own to drive it, you know, is kind of like what it like asks for it, you know. So that's kind of like what my vision is when we're creating something of this caliber.
I think your enthusiasm probably sells this car better than anything else. You seem really psyched about this.
It's a very special car. You know, literally yesterday we were filming a video, and I got to just go have fun, and it was the first manual Spec 5 that I had driven, and because we did a lot of our testing on the automatic, because that's the one that gets the temperatures hot, and it's frankly the higher take rate. And I was just having so much fun, and it was just so amazed by the experience, because like in testing, it's another mindset. I just got to go burn some laps yesterday during like a break during a shoot, and man, I was so fired up. And I'm like, man, like so proud of like what we've created. And yeah, I'm freaking pumped on it. I really am.
Well, you know, I would ask you what you're working on next, but I don't even think I want to know. I think I want to be surprised, because this one kind of jumped out. It is a lot different than what you've done before.
Yeah. No, thank you, Gary. We've got a lot of great things in the works. And again, you know, our relationship with Ford, and like to be announced at the beginning of this year is like the only second company in 62 years that Ford is, you know, co-developed and shared design and engineering duties with the producer car to come out of Flat Rock. You know, where we are and where we're going along with Ford and with our, you know, separate spec vehicle builds. It's just a dream, and it's all I want to do. It's all I think about. And you know, aside from, you know, trying to be a great father and husband and out kicking ass in Broncos and Mustangs on the track, this is it for me.
Well, hopefully we can talk again soon about that factory RTR car, but really do appreciate your time today.
Look forward to it, Gary. Thanks a lot, man. I need to get you in one of these.
Absolutely. For more on the RTR Spec 5 and the latest performance car news, head over to American Cars and Racing Every Day.